This mini-module is going to continue to explore cybersecurity leadership principles. The first principle had to do with communication, and we've introduced you to this second principle when we had you create your own cybersecurity business. Now that you know that there are many opportunities for new cybersecurity businesses and you've thought about some of them, it's important for us to talk about what some of those opportunities are that have been that entrepreneurs have seized upon. Cybersecurity businesses have grown into billion-dollar industries, and there are many varieties, and here we list just 6 different varieties. And those varieties would include things like cyber operations businesses, where there are businesses that would provide these specific types of activities for individuals, for companies. They would do things like reverse engineering or assess system vulnerability, or they would do network engineering or software development or malware analysis, or they would provide IT staff departments so that a particular business doesn't have to hire their own, they contract out. Cyber ops would also provide crisis management, or they would provide on-demand cybersecurity. So if a company experienced an incident and had to respond to that incident, they would have someone that they could call to help to respond to that particular incident. These cyber operations companies would also provide operational centers for businesses that don't have their own. Now, these cyber operations might work with smaller companies who need these services. They might work with larger companies who find a benefit in work and contracting out for these types of services. Whatever the case, these cyber operations businesses provide many services that are in high demand, and because these services are in high demand, these cyber operations businesses are able to charge a relatively significant amount for those services. Now, there's also cybersecurity products and vendors that are that sell different types of software and hardware to promote cybersecurity. Obviously, there's an antivirus software business out there, and there's different types of businesses and different types of products that we could buy to help protect our systems, and the whole antivirus software business has grown tremendously since the advent of the internet. There's also those products and vendors related to technological solutions and that would sell technology and algorithms and those sorts of things that they've turned into products. There's also those that would sell hardware and cloud security solutions and security platforms. There's also cybersecurity products out there related to breach detection services, where companies offer to detect breaches and to alert companies when breaches have occurred. There's also products and vendors that are distributing and selling data analytics services and the opportunity to analyze a company's data to see if it's at risk for cyber breaches or cyber incidents. And there's also products out on the market related to data protection. So each of these types of products and vendors, it's sort of related to, if you think about it, when people buy security for their home, and there's large security vendors out there that sell private security products. These are analogous in that businesses are selling and distributing cybersecurity products and vendors that are specifically for the cyber environment. Now, cybersecurity training is also another area of business that has grown, and these businesses have grown tremendously. In fact, it's expected that they'll grow from $1 billion in 2014, according to one author, to $10 billion by 2027. The need for this training, we've talked about the training and how in pre-employment programs it may be particularly valuable, but we've also talked about the fact before that training by itself doesn't necessarily stop people from doing bad things or making mistakes, but training done appropriately based upon evidence and based upon adult education principles can certainly have a significant benefit to companies and businesses. I note a couple of those businesses that are out there that provide cybersecurity training. These include Digital Defense, Inspired eLearning, KnowBe4, PhishMe, a company that does phishing to see if companies or your employees would be experiencing different types of, or be susceptible to different types of phishing scams. Many different companies out there are in training about the phishing was the PhishMe, but many companies out there, and as you look back to your list of cybersecurity possible businesses, wonder if any of those had to do with training, and or if any of the ideas you came up with could relate to training. And it certainly is an opportunity again that entrepreneurs are seizing on. Cybersecurity consulting. It's also a billion-dollar industry. And these consultants, they will do things like assessing for risk. They'll come into an environment, business, company, spend some time talking with people in the company, looking at the cyber infrastructure, looking at the training that people are giving, looking at the hiring practices, looking at just the whole business from a holistic sort of level, and make decisions based upon that assessment about how at risk that business or company might be for a cybersecurity incident. Now, based upon that assessment, they'll also recommend changes. They'll recommend changes either in the hiring practices or in the infrastructure or in the training and the ongoing training or in the oversight, whatever area they happen to find limitations in, they'll suggest changes to address those limitations. Now, cybersecurity businesses that are in the area consulting might also offer to provide changes to the IT program or IT department. Here again, they would go in and specifically assess what's going on in the IT arena and the IT department in a particular business. And rather than simply recommending the changes, though, they actually go in and make those changes for the company and for the business. And these consultants they're essentially contractors, and these contractors would work in providing a number of different changes to IT in that particular company, and to work almost while they're working on a contract for a company. That contract will at some point end, and that business moves to another type of business. And they'll also evaluate the impact of changes. And consultants out there will, after doing the assessment and the changes, there are consultants that would either work with the consultant that initially recommended or provided the changes, or there'll be independent consultants that'll come in and evaluate how well the company is doing after changes have occurred. So this notion, again, of cybersecurity consulting is certainly a large opportunity for business. You need to know a lot about cybersecurity, but you also need to know a lot about consulting. Consulting by itself requires specific skills, specific practices, specific strategies, and not everyone could necessarily become a consultant. They also need to know about small businesses. Consultants are often either small businesses or larger organizations, but the people working in the consulting business need to know how those operate. Another growing area is cybersecurity insurance. Incidents aren't typically covered by traditional insurance policies, so while if I have a business and I have business insurance, and my insurance will cover if someone breaks into my business and steals from me, that insurance will not cover typically if someone hacks in and does things. So what happens is businesses need to get additional insurance. And the insurance would include coverage for things like liability of breaches. So if their company is sued, the cybersecurity insurance would help to cover that lawsuit. There's also the insurance would cover the costs that arise from breaches, whatever financial costs there may be. They will also cover the costs for restoring businesses that have experienced harm. Sort of like if your business burns down and you have to rebuild it. Well, cybersecurity insurance could cover that cost of rebuilding the business to where it needs to get to where it was before. It also will cover the cost for business interruptions, whatever those costs were, if business had to stop for a while or cease, and maybe we lost sales, maybe we lost momentum, whatever those costs are, they may be covered. And then expenses from cyber extortion. Some insurance policies actually offer to cover those sorts of expenses. Now, there's always blueprint or fine print in any insurance policy. And with cybersecurity insurance, it's significant to note that there are actually cybersecurity products that help insurance companies try to decide how much they're supposed to charge for insurance. A person at Old Dominion University has developed an algorithm that named PRISM that actually allows companies to assess their risk by plugging their data into a particular formula. Now, presumably that formula could then be used by insurance companies to decide how much that they might charge businesses for cybersecurity insurance. There's also cybersecurity commercialization as possible opportunities for new businesses. And I provide a quote here of one company that has commercialized cybersecurity. And this company, Cybersecurity Revolution, is offering these different plans to law offices that will provide these services to law offices, include a brief, an audit, a training assessment, and a certification label. What they've done is they've commercialized their skills, and these companies these law firms would pay a specific fee in order to receive these ongoing services. You need the skills in order to actually be able to provide the services, but you also need a business sense in order to develop this sort of company. And the folks that would run these sorts of companies need to know about cybersecurity, they need to know about law, they need to know about business, they need to know about various aspects of these assessments and these presentations and the training and so on. In other words, they need to know about cybersecurity from an interdisciplinary perspective. Hence, again, the importance of exploring this topic through an interdisciplinary lens. So we talk about these different businesses. We showed you a map in the very, I believe it was the first module of this course that showed how many jobs there are in cybersecurity in different states. If you recall, California and Virginia had the two highest amounts of openings and vacancies. Northern Virginia in particular has an incredibly high number of job openings, and many of those are in fact in the areas of consulting and the areas of cyber operations. And the main employee of those jobs is in fact the federal government. The federal government has a number of openings, and so we have these other businesses like cyber operations and cyber consulting that have been created to do things for the federal government. And in that sense, the government has privatized cybersecurity operations and privatized the receipt of consulting. And it's a number of different opportunities that await for those that are interested in these jobs. Again, an interdisciplinary framework would best prepare individuals for these businesses. Maybe one of you will create a business in cybersecurity. I think you'll do very well if you do.